Hi, I'm Greg Grubb with Electric Vehicle Conversions Ohio. And yeah, I know, I'm almost 2 weeks behind on this video. We moved. I really don't get help when I move. My brother helped, a couple in-laws helped, but it took a whole week just to get in here. Smaller place inside, but a bigger place outside. 2-car garage, I'm sitting in a shed. It's really a building. It's 12 by 24. It's fairly big for what they call a shed. It's got electric outlets everywhere. I don't like the lighting, but that's stuff I am going to change, as you'll see. I'm going to go down through the list of questions, answer some more questions, and then we'll take a little tour, talk about what's going to happen. Okay, so I got an email with a lot of questions on it, and guys probably been waiting 2 weeks to hear the answers to most of them, but I've talked about most of them already. Anyway, then we want to just go down the list again. So, how far can I go on electric? 50 to 150 miles. And then he had a follow-up question, can I go 300 miles? Yeah, you can. That's just an average range of what converted EVs are going. You want at least 50. They say the average American only drives 39.7 miles a day. But if that's your round trip to work is 40 miles, you're going to want to be able to stop somewhere, go see somebody. You don't want to have to plug in and go. That always depends on the price. Battery pack, what size it is, and the weight of the vehicle is really the only thing hindering your range, and the space for the batteries. If you have a small hatchback, no room underneath, you might just want to use that for a commuter. But if you have a big 4-door with no room underneath, that 150 mile range might not even be possible with the batteries that are there now. But I do have a chart. I think we're going to talk about that next week. I have an equation. Range equals pack size divided by weight divided by 10. And that gives you your kilowatt hours. And then you can take the weight divided by 10. Trust me, it's not that easy. It is for me, because I'm kind of prone to liking math. And I like cars, so it just seemed like an appropriate place for me to end up. Alright, let's just get on to the second question. How do you do heat? There's 2 ways to do heat. You can take the heater core hoses, take them straight to a reservoir and a pump. A heated reservoir with the controller. Use the factory controls. Or you could just add a ceramic heater, get rid of the heater core. Some people don't like the heater cores because they always bury them in the dash. They're hard to replace. So it's your choice. If you want to go factory, we can just hook up a reservoir with the pump. Or we can just remove that altogether and put in what they call a heat box. Like early Mustangs, Hudsons, Healey's, most small convertibles that have heat. That's what they use. They don't want to draw power. Most of them are sports cars. They don't want to take the power pulley off. AC, same thing. An AC compressor does take a pulley. It is usually high powered draw. But they do make things like a tri-pack. Some people may have heard of them. Semis use them. That run the heat and the AC and all the electronics off of a separate battery pack, which would be easy. Or you could just get a small 12 volt, run off your AC system. And usually the heavier the car, the more pack's going to be and the more draw you're going to get anyway. So as long as your DC to DC converter has enough amps recharging your battery, you should be fine. Brakes. How are you going to do brakes with no vacuum? Well, add a vacuum pump. They are small, generally inexpensive. The really cheap ones do make a lot of noise compared to an electric vehicle. Most people don't notice them in their car because they're just on the pulley, but there are some new cars that taken that away from the motor power and put it straight to an AV system. AC system, sorry. Right off your accessory pack. This is your regular 12 volt battery that every car has. I've got some dead ones over here. Yeah, you just need to add a vacuum pump. Power steering's the same way. Hook it to that same pump. Vacuum's really the only thing you need on a fluid controlled device like power steering or hydraulic brakes. And then he says, I live in Ohio. I know you do too. Do I need to garage my EV to charge it? No. Some people think they need a garage to have an electric vehicle. What you need is a parking spot close to a plug or a long cord. And heat blankets, block heaters. You would have to wrap your battery containment boxes, keep them warm. I've seen one from Bainbridge, Ohio, and he had heat ropes, like you would put on PVC pipes in the winter to keep them warm. He just had it wrapped around there. That keeps the temperature. You really just need to keep it above 45. In Ohio, we know it goes below 45 here, and you do have to take care of that a little more if you don't have a garage. You have to keep it plugged in, or keep something on, which is never a good idea. To keep it on, you will be draining your battery and charging it at the same time. That's never good. But you can get heat blankets that run off a regular 12 volt battery, and that has no effect on your track pack. It can go straight to your accessory battery, and while you're charging, it's not a problem to park it outside. People prefer garages because your batteries will last longer, and let's say you forget, well, you have enough juice to go the next day, so you don't want to plug it in that night. And then you got batteries sitting out in 30-degree weather, which isn't even good on a regular car, but it'll work out. And then motors. Do your motors need to be cooled? Yeah. Electric motors need to be cooled. But an auxiliary blower and a couple of plastic tunnels, fairly easy. And that will also help keep the dust out of the DC brush motors. It does build up carbon dust, not much. They say you should take it apart every year and blow it out, but if you have a blower on it while you're using it, you don't need to do that. The buildup is minuscule. It's what comes off of a half-inch brush. 8 of them, but they're not that much. Now, if you drive the car for 2 years and don't have a blower on it, you're going to overheat your car anyway at highway speeds. But you need to keep that carbon dust out. So, and where can I charge it? That depends on the customer. You can have a 110, a 220, JL1772. The JL1772 does have a couple spots. The only public charging station I know of in Columbus takes a JL1772 plug, and doesn't really cost much more. But as for your onboard, if you have an onboard charger, you can put anything on it you want. Most people like the 110 for the fact that when they go to bed at night, they're not worried about it. They plug it into a 110 and they're done. And you can plug it in anywhere else. Go up to any outlet, plug it in. 220 is a little less common, but every house has one that I know of. That's your dryer plug, electric stoves. Some people have them just in the garage. I have a two-phase 110, which doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna have to change that in the garage. A 110 does take longer because you can't do a well, obviously it's less power, less current than a 220. I don't know what I'm talking about here. But the JL1772 is pretty popular among EV plug-in spots in the public. The one in Columbus is free. It is fairly easy to park there because you're not allowed parking there unless it's a complete electric. And seen a Leaf there a couple of days ago, getting his little charge on while he was in town. And how long does it take to charge? Again, that depends on the pack and how you're charging it. The JL1772 does charge faster, and it does require a two-phase. But generally 3 to 10 hours, depending on your pack size. I've seen 72-volt packs get charged in 3.5 hours. But I've seen 144-volt packs, 180 amp hours. That took over 9. So, overnight. For most. Now if you got a small pack, you only go 50-mile range, small car, you might be able to get it below 3 hours. If you use the, what was that other one? There's the Brusa dual charger is pretty quick on a small pack. The amp hours have to be small too. I think that was a 100 amp hour 72-volt pack, and it took like 245 every time, 80% discharge. But as soon as you go up a little bit, it goes up a lot. Say you double that. So you keep the 100 amp hour cells, and you go up to 144 volts. That's nominal. It's probably around 156 volt, 100 amp hour cells. Now, half of that would have been, 245, but that can knock my stand over. But when you double that, it more than doubles the time. The 144 volt one took 7.5 hours, but it had more than twice the range. So there's no real problem there. It just depends on how far you want to go. Like I said, the range does matter. And every time you want to go up another step on the range, you have to go up another step on the batteries, more batteries, higher amp hours, longer and longer charging times. So, but I have seen a 300 volt pack get charged in under 10 hours. And those were 60 amp hour cells, but he had so many of them. How fast will it go? As fast as you want it to. The Warp 9 is rated at over 100 miles an hour. Some weird noises going on outside. But anyway, the Warp 9, which would be the smallest motor I would like to do, they do have an 8-inch and a 7-inch, and those really, you're looking at mini cars, subcompacts. Like the Justy, could probably work on an 8 with a small pack. Fairly lightweight car. But generally 85 miles an hour. They go fast enough to break the speed limit in most states. With the Warp 9 or bigger. And that really depends on your controller as well. How many amps can you use, what your current's going to be. But generally as fast as you need to. Like I said, I've seen the 63 aluminum body Porsche with a 72 volt, 180 amp hour pack, and it would go. Which actually he said he was clocked at 155 on the raceway, and that Porsche factory would only go 128 miles an hour. So he actually improved his performance a lot. I mean, 30% increase in top speed. And a lot of increase in torque and actual takeoff time. What tires will I use? That again is up to the customer. I would recommend Michelin Energy Savers. They're not really high dollar and they do save you money. I know a guy who went from getting 34 miles to the gallon, did nothing but put 4 new Michelin Energies on his car, and an alignment. He said the alignment was barely off, but he had it aligned. 4 new tires, why not? And he went from 34 miles to the gallon to 39. And that was his average, testing that on the way back and forth to work. So tires do matter. They matter more than most people know. People go, it's only 2 pounds under. Back tire's 5 pounds. I'll drive it. And for the dollar it costs you at most places to get air, it would have saved you that in gas in a couple days. Tires are a big deal when you're talking about energy saving. Fuel consumption, if you're still using an ICE motor. But yeah, energy savers. Michelin has those. Pirelli made one. Honda has one. I can't remember the name of it. Viva, I think it is. That are on the hybrids that Honda makes, just to make sure they get the best gas mileage out of their tires as well. But they're out there and they're fairly competitive with the regular tire. He asked how much it would cost, and when will I get paid back per cost per losing gas. Everybody knows the cost. I think it's not cheap, but it's not fairly expensive. It can be expensive if you want to push that range a little further. So we're just gonna estimate a cost 15 to 25,000, and depending on your battery pack, some people say 3 years of free gas. Oh wait. At 5 years, at 12,000 miles a year, that's your 60,000 mile mark that usually pays for your conversion. 5 years, and it's just like having a free car, minus the gas only. That's the thing. You're not only losing the ability to use gas, you're $1 per 100 miles you drive. You can't do that on gas. You could never do that on gas, even back in the day. But if you drive that car for 5 years and put 12,000 miles a year on it, you paid yourself back by not paying gas for gas. And that's not including everything else you need to do in a regular ICE motor. Oil changes, spark plugs, hoses, belts. You don't have any of those. Might have some hoses for your heat and stuff, but general maintenance gets cut way down when you have an electric vehicle. And he wanted to know where he can get repairs if he does do a conversion. Well, most of those components are guaranteed, warranted from the factory. I know the motors all are. The motors I'm going to use definitely are. Either the Netgay motors or the Siemens motors are good for 10 years. The Cal batteries from the factory, same thing, 10 years. So parts replacements. The charger I think is pretty low, but it's still about, I think it's 3 years, 3 to 5 years, depending on which one you use. I know the Brusa does 5 years. The Sigma I think is only 3, but parts are fairly cheap. And if I do your conversion, you're gonna sign a contract that says if anything EV related goes wrong, you bring it to me for 3 years, and it's fixed. Okay. You're not gonna have to shell out another $17,000 6 months later. And I don't want that. I just want people driving them. And that's where I got my information. I did go to college, but the class I took was alternative fuel, and they don't even teach that class anymore. They teach another class, similar. It's about the same, but not at the same college. And EVTV does have a lot of information online. Their website, they have YouTube channels, and EV4U does a lot of videos, information. So I ordered a couple information DVDs from him. He has a $7,500 conversion lead acid, and he goes through everything step by step. And the last question he asks is, what happens to my other parts? The removed parts, the motor, the exhaust, everything else. That depends on the customer. Some people want to take that. Some people want to keep it in case they want to convert back. Nobody was ever, that I've heard of, ever converted a car to electric and then went back to gas. It's just not feasible to do it. Once you're in an EV, you never want to drive a gas vehicle again. And where do they go? They go wherever you want. That's up to the customer. If you want nothing to do with them, you'll never plan on using them, I can throw them online, and save you a little bit of money. Or you can take them and sell them if you want. Do whatever you want. They're yours. Or you could just not care where they go, and I'll get rid of them. Okay, I'll set this down. That was all the questions that I built up over the last 3 weeks. And the other thing was the Ranger was supposed to be here last month. And the owner, I was actually on a trip, and he didn't want to drive in the rain. He was on the East Coast, and it rained for a week. So I gave him that week, and he came back. And then talked to him quite a few times since then. And the last time I talked to him, he wanted to know what the legal recourses was of backing out of a contract. And I told him none. I'm not going to hold you to a contract. I'm not going to make him bring his vehicle here. He's still enjoying it. He said financially it's not a problem. It's just a matter of when. He still wants to do it. So I told him just to tear up his contract. And we'll write up one when he shows up with the vehicle, because I was supposed to have it last month, I was supposed to have it last week. I was supposed to have it on the 19th of July, the 1st of August. And he's a busy old man, so he can do what he wants. He still wants it done. He'll still get it done. I've got him a bill sheet. But let's go look at my messy area here. I am just moving in, it's not very clean, so we'll take a little tour. Let me show you what's going on here. Oh, this building here. Yeah, it's got tools. A little bit of everything. Really, a little bit of everything. There's a couple dead lead acid batteries down there. Toolboxes, things like that. This place needs finished. These are the lights I hate. I hate those lights. But there's a little workshop area. Got a little cabinet here. It's empty still. Spread my tools out if I can find them all. But a little bit of everything I need. And heaters, because there's no heat in here. And even an air conditioner. Got more there. I'll show you this panel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 20s and 3 empties. If I do a stage, I'm going to have to put a 100 amp in there for a charger. Let's walk out here and right into this other room, which isn't really a room, it's a garage, which has its own dedicated 230s right there. And this one actually doesn't do anything. So I'm gonna pull this out, put a 60 in there, just for my charger, because I have plugs. 1, 2, 3, there's another one up there, 4, 5, 6, there's one up there, 7 and 8. I've got at least 8 plugs in here. 2 ceiling fans. I don't know why you would have that in a garage. It does keep it cool in here. And they removed the opener, but closing the garage is not a problem. Just gotta do it manually. And we have this little guy here. See, this is why the garage door doesn't shut, which isn't a problem. This is the Justy 3-cylinder. It's a push button all-wheel drive, so it doesn't have much. For a 90s Subaru, it doesn't really have any specialties other than the fact that it only weighs 1,700 pounds. And it needs a bath. It sat under a tree at the other house, and the only time it moved was to come here. And this S10, which we've talked about, has a lot of rust. Got the brand new bumper right there. That needs to go on it. As you can see, it's got some damage. And overall, underneath, let me get my light on, the actual frame is starting to rot. So, this might not be a good converted vehicle. I know the bed's coming off, but when you can poke a hole through the frame, you might want to get rid of it. Scrap it, please. And the shackles are bounded on, and they don't really do much anyway. But people said a lightweight truck, and this is what it is. But overall, the Justy looks like a better conversion anyway, because of the sheer weight it's missing. 1,700 pounds, 2,500 pounds. I also have that, which is my wife's, so we'll talk about that when we get the other two done. I'm supposed to talk about, you got components to remove and components to keep. Obviously the 3-cylinder can come out. I can keep all the brake components. The vacuum is electric on this. There is no pulley for the vacuum. As you can see, it's just alternator timing. Everything else is a little electric. The ignition coil and everything. All that can come out. But that was my video. A lot of people waited over 2 weeks to see it. So sorry about that. Moving took a little longer than I thought. It always does. But here's an outside look. It is a 2-car garage. It's not very deep, but I can get an S10 in there with room to spare. So if I can do that, I can do most small cars. And if a project other than mine comes in, we can always just push these out or drive them out. They both run. Drive them out, put one project car in here at a time. But as you can see, there are plugs. There's plugs everywhere in here. And dedicated fuses. Let's head back in here. Turn that off. I'll show you, this really is just a shed right here. But it is huge. It's got 3 rooms in it.